Hey everybody, before we get started, this is my episode brought to you by patrons like Go Comics, Qua, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Nestor Flores, Sodasan0424, and VideoGamer75. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and we help us out. Thanks for your support, everybody. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is time once again to talk about Star Wars Legion by Fantasy Flight Games. And it has been a little while since we were here, but we're back. Mostly that's because of delays in the release of the Clone Wars core. Yes, unfortunately, the product was delayed, and it seems like it was a global distribution problem. That is kind of one of the sad side effects of if you adopt a big global data release schedule or whatever, you run into this problem where it's like, well, so it's in all the warehouses in America and could ship out, and it was, because for a while, Miniatures Market was fulfilling their pre-orders on time before the delay. So clearly, the physical copies were here, but I believe in Europe and the UK, the distributors were not set up for the original worldwide release date, so stuff got a little bit weird, which I think has impacted our news cycle a little bit, but yeah. There was a really cool Ask Me Anything they did a while ago. I thought about doing like an executive summary on that, but I didn't. You can just watch their YouTube video. It's really cool. You should check it out. It might be in the end card for this, if I remember, after I'm done talking about all this other stuff. But Legion News is back on the menu, boys. So here we go. It's up. And we're starting with a double article on the Rebel and Empire upgrade expansion. Some people are curious about the other stuff. I assume that they're probably going to do another one this month, because there's like 2 weeks left in this month, and, well, they've started with these, so probably next week or the week after we'll get the one for droids and clones, because there are actually some differences in these that would be worth examining, but anyway, we'll see. People like to joke, though, because they never did Imperial Specialists they want, but I think they will, just because there's stuff to cover. Anyway, we're here. We're covering stuff. So we're basically going to break these two down. It'll be Empire first, then Rebels, then we'll do the one generic one that's in there, but that's only because of formatting. I didn't have a space for a fifth upgrade in one of these, so I shoved it into its own slide. But we'll burn through all that really quick, and I guess there's not much else to say, but let's go ahead and jump on in to those cards. Alright, so let's take a look at those Empire upgrades. Here's your big blob. Luckily, they have spoiled all the unique things, except maybe the gear upgrade, but I think that'll be the same. It's probably electro-binoculars, especially considering the art on the Stormtrooper Specialist, but who knows. So we've got Captain Specialist, the two weapons. We know that smoke grenades are in there, and we have seen the full text for offensive push. We'll talk about that later, because it stands on its own. But anyway, we're here, and we're going to proceed from the good old left to rights. So we start down here at the Stormtrooper Captain. He is a 15-point personnel upgrade, so that's a little bit of a jump up. That's 4 points. That can be pretty significant. You can get a lot done with 4 points in this game. But that's a jump over just the extra regular guy, but you add a Stormtrooper Captain Mini. You gain a free training upgrade. So there was some back and forth about who gave what. I was like, at first I was like, ooh, that really seems like the Captain gives it, but also the Specialist gives the upgrade icon, so maybe he gives you the training? I don't know. But it turns out it was the Captain. And then he has an ability, when you activate, you cannot remove suppression tokens or be suppressed during this activation, and is leader, and he taps. So, basically, this gives you access to the training upgrade icon. Unlike the comms specialist, you don't have to equip a training icon. But that does mean that you're paying a 4-point premium for that training upgrade. But you also get a new unit leader, and he has the ability to tap to prevent suppression. So you can't remove suppression tokens, and basically, when you activate, before you start the rally step, this is your first choice to trigger this or not. You can choose to basically skip your rally step. You can't remove suppression tokens, but you won't be suppressed. This is useful if you are concerned that you won't rally off your suppression, or you've got some other factor going on, and you basically will be suppressed during this activation at some point, but not panicked. So if you're gonna panic, don't tap this, you will panic. If you aren't panicked but are suppressed, or will be suppressed, consider tapping this just to make sure you get your options. If you think you've got a decent enough chance, because maybe you're near somebody with, like, Rally or something, Inspire, sorry, that you can pull this off, don't. And it's tap upgrade, so that's always a little bit sketchy. I don't know how often you're going to have a free... I mean, with vanilla Stormtroopers, maybe. They do like to aim, but also there's a lot of guys who can hand them aim tokens, so who knows? So you might leave it, but mostly that's to get your training upgrade on your generic Stormtroopers, which is cool. I think it's useful. So Stormtrooper Specialist also taps. gains a gear icon, so you have 2 now, because normally you start with 1, but you get 2, which lets you do some interesting combos if you need to. But also it has a free action to gain an aim token or a surge token. So, this is the real difference, as we'll see. The Rebel one is a dodge token or a surge token. So we all knew that they could get a surge token, but we thought it was like, gain 2 surge tokens, gain a blah and a blah token. This is also why people are eager for, and I think they will do a clone and droid article. One, because it's not hard, but whatever. I don't know. I can't tell if people are joking or not. People on the forums anyway, people on the forums seem really, really weird about the community ever since the Clone Wars core set got delayed. I don't know if it's just because of the news, but, like, people seem really titchy, really, really easy to, like, get on stuff and get weird about stuff. I don't know. I guess that's just what happens when the game starts to evolve in points. You know, you get maybe a little stressors on people or whatever. Also, notice this cool dewbacks in the background of Stormtrooper Specialist. Didn't even see them before. They're cool. Anyway, the Specialist cards do appear to give you different things for different factions. So, the Stormtrooper Specialist means that for a free action and the tap of the card, your Stormtroopers can get an aim which they might need, or they might get a surge, depending on what you feel like you need to do. And it's a free action, so you can do it even if you're suppressed or something. Because I believe you can still take free actions even while suppressed. It's just you lose one of your normalized actions. Downside, he costs 15 points, just like the captain. So that's a very expensive premium on gear upgrades to get your second gear in, because those are usually pretty cheap. And it still taps, so again, I don't know how often you're going to want that surge token, but you can get surge tokens. Next, we'll move on to the weapons. The T-21 Stormtrooper, this was pretty detailed before, but he's 27 points, he's range 1 to 3, 4 white dice, critical 2, aka it's a T-21. Now, as is usual, I have been hearing a lot of people badmouth the vanilla T-21 for a long time, and you're still wrong. So, the Clone Wars core set has been delayed, I'll admit. Right? It has been delayed. That is a thing that happened. But some people still have them physically, and I have been paying attention to other podcasts. I'm hearing about stuff on TTS. And somebody did the math way back when, which I talked about. You're wrong to think that the T-21 is useless. Is it maybe a little too expensive for competitive play? Sure, but FFG will fix that now. So who cares? But analyzing the math and looking at it, and listening to people talk about fighting droids, people are going to have to get over the idea that the DLT 19 is so perfect. Like, yes, range 4 chip shot, pretty good. Yes, the cheap impact is good. But who is using armor? Who is? I don't know. And like, okay, sure, you can. A lot of those big vehicles have weak points, but you can use them to exploit, but also they have weak points. You can get in, like, if you get behind an AAT, you don't need impact 1 from your gun. You're already getting free impact 2. And as I have been saying for months now, I think, since this was announced, you are not going to want to, if you're an Empire player and you think you're going to run into droids, don't take DLTs. Do not. You're gonna be like, oh, hey, cool, I chipped one of them or 2 of them out. The guy still has 6 units left, and he doesn't care about the 1 suppression I did. He's gonna, pull off his wombo combo and march 4 of these guys in rows into me and just shred me. Because they will. Because mathematically, B1s are the most mechanically efficient unit in the game. They are. They have the best offense and the best defense for their points. Because they have extra bodies, the amount of wounds you need to do to take them out, even with their shitty saves, are quite high. And they get a lot of guns, even if they have no surge. And because of the way defeating units works, if they just stick that cheap-ass rifleman in there, the E5C, they still have a decent offensive backend that you're not getting rid of for a long time. So people, seriously, don't just look at the 27 points, like, okay, that might be a little expensive, but don't just think of that and go, oh, what are all these gross white dice? You need dice. That's also why the RT97C is really good, even though it's 26 points. Okay? And in that case, between the 2 of them, we can talk about the RT97C here. It's the RT97C. It's range 1 to 4. It's got 1 red and 3 white dice, but it has no keywords at all. It's a 1-point difference. The really key there is, do you think you're going to need the critical, or do you think you're going to need the extra range band? Because the RT97C, great damage spread. You got 1 die that will almost for sure, and then your Stormtroopers, you probably got aim tokens, you got a surge. You can maybe make some of those extra white dice count, that's another couple of extra droids down, hopefully before they get in primo shooting range. Or at the very least, you can out-offense their snipers, because they also will have a marksman option in these packs. But still, it's pretty decent, but doesn't have any extra flair. If you're going to run into armor, dodges, criticals, not criticals, cover, or guardian, any of that other horseshit, critical too. I know some people don't feel like critical works as much if you already have surge conversions, but it still matters because those extra crits can help a lot. And that is mathematically proven. If there's a Reddit thread, it's pretty old now, you probably won't be able to find it, but no, I read it and I talked about it. Doing the math, if you're up against all those defensive options, not just armor on impact, but all those defensive options, the critical conversion is actually really useful. It lets you slip in a couple extra hits. And it can be anywhere from your pool in through those things, which, your DLT chip shots don't. They get bogged down by heavy cover. Or duck and cover guys. So, don't let the T-21 pass you by. And don't let the RT-97 pass you by either. Seriously, think about what people in your area are going to play. Think about what you would do. And consider them. Because they're not garbage. I don't think there are really any garbage upgrades in Legion anymore. You could argue the exhaust weapons like the MPL and the HH-12 were garbage when they were too expensive, but now that the competitive points reduction is kicked in and they're 10 points cheaper, you can't say they're garbage. They're probably not optimal for a lot of cases just because, with the HH-12, who needs that much impact, in that case, the DLT really is still better. But with the MPL, ions are pretty good against droids, and, you got stuff to think about, okay? So just keep that in mind. Like I said, I don't know, 27 points does sound a little expensive to me. It's true. But, the RT-97C is only 26 points. I think that should be your new baseline. It's got all that extra offensive kick at the range band. You want it. But that's enough about Empire upgrades. Let's go talk about them dirty rebels. Alright, well, let's talk about the Rebel version then. So's, here's we are. In the Rebel pack. It's about what you'd think. So, Rebel upgrades are all laid out here. The Rebel Trooper Captain, Ishatib, is about the same as you'd expect. He is identical to the Stormtrooper one. In all ways, except it's a Rebel Trooper instead of Stormtrooper. Leader, blah, 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 plus 4 points. Not much else to talk about there. Rebels, I think, overall have a better access to Inspire than Empire does. So, I don't know if this is as important, but hey, whatever. It exists. Specialist is mostly the same, except like I said before, you get a dodge token or a surge token. Rebs will love that. Base Rebel Troopers with their nimble, they really need them dodge tokens, So, this guy can be great as just, hey, I just need a dodge token right now. But also, he gives you access to surge tokens, which is important, because Rebels don't surge on attack. Now, obviously, Empire doesn't surge on defense either, but they have better defense saves, so, very rarely, I think, are you going to be like, I'm going to tap my Stormtrooper Specialist to maybe get a surge conversion on my red defense dice, right? Most of the time, you're just going to be like, I'll suck it up. Rebel Troopers, though, you're going to be like, boy, howdy, I really wish I had, a singular, even with my better black dice. Sometimes, or, God help you, if you're comboing this guy with Z6s, you'd be like, boy, howdy, I'd really love just a single surge conversion. So, honestly, I think for the 4 points with dodge and surge, you get a little bit extra out of it. I think they're more... The Rebels may find this more applicable, but you do still have the tap problem. And, how often are you recovering? Still, they're a decent spread and stuff. Sorry, my chair's really creaky. Don't know why. And then again, mostly we have to talk about the weapons. So we've kind of described all this stuff before, so we'll go over it again, though. The SX-21 Trooper, keep in mind this is an Imperial weapon, so who knows. It's range 1 to 2, it's a scattergun, so it's big dice pool, 2 red, 2 white. Basically a great pool, doubling your offensive power, and it has an impact 1, and it has the 2 red dice that'll mostly enable it. And it's only 20 points, probably because it's range 1 to 2. This is how you should do CQC weapons, kids. Not whatever they were doing with the Ion Disruptor before they realized that it sucked at range 1 to 2 and made it range 1 to 3. So, obviously, if you play Rebels a lot, you've probably played Fleet Troopers with their own scattergun and with their close-range pistols. You know that there's some kind of stuff, and I can honestly say, having done this analysis before, that now that 5 is it's not just 4 beyond, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beyond. 2 is now the sub-average level, like literally, it is below the median marker on your ranges. So that is for sure close range now. Closing to close can be hard, you gotta play a lot with cover, you gotta, make sure to marshal your dodges, but if you get up close, it can be a pretty big bang. Now, impact isn't as good as Pierce, I think, in that regard, like the Fleet Trooper Scattergun. That said, Rebels have a really cheap access to impact now. And so if you want a solid snake of this and you want to bum rush up to a tank and pop this into the side, heck, combo with impact grenades. That'll give you more than enough impact and lots of dice to convert them on. But still, yeah, get up in somebody's weak point maybe, like if you smashed into you flanked and ducked down an alien, smashed into the side of a occupier, you'd have impact 2. I'm pretty sure it's like 99% sure it's weak point 1 sides. So you'd have impact 2, and you have 2 red dice to capitalize it on. Plus, this guy can still use his vanilla rifle at range if you need to. That said, he is double the cost, though, so you want to try and use it. All in all, I don't think the SX-21 is like a must-take, but if you're ever playing a Rebel and you want a cheap impact option, you've got it. And if you want to bring that close quarters hurt, figuring out a squad of these guys, slap some recon intel on them so they can scoot forward. You could make some nasty, nasty squads who can scooch up in there. Give them a trooper captain maybe so they can take some duck and cover or something. And like I said, scooch along in there, get into those weak points. You'll be able to slap some pretty nasty damage on some of these vehicles. It's a thing. And then the DLT-20A, 26 points. Pretty expensive, but I think, and obviously some people are still like, man, FFG thinks critical is too good. I don't know yet. Everybody says short troopers are really good, and the mortars are really good. And then I hear some people in the forums going, man, that's suck. I'm like, I don't know. I'm hearing from people whose opinions I trust, namely the couple of podcasts at the 5th Trooper Network, because as much as the ultra math focused, the basically the math wing problem, turns me off sometimes because people just, they think about the exact math too hard, and in some way I think that pushes the game into ruts because you're like, no, it's the most mathematically efficient. I can't possibly, even though you're at times the practical difference between your mathematical efficiency can be very small. You've got like I said, there are sometimes there are obviously suboptimal choices, but there can still be other stuff like mathematically B1s are the best unit in the game. They're the most points efficient. In that terminology, sure, but you're gonna, depending on what you're doing with those B1s, you're gonna get clattered a lot because they have no surges, right? Just because they have the best point value in the game doesn't mean there's gonna be time when you're going, oh man, these guys suck, right? But because of how we talk about math problems, sometimes people think, but the B1s, they're the best in the game. No, it's a little bit more complex than that, and you always have to remember the human element. But yes, for the points, don't think that B1s are pure trash. They are perfectly efficient. They are just practically garbage. Anyway, so people say critical is good is what I'm getting at. And I believe them because critical is a math thing. So you get 2 blacks and a white, and you get range 1 to 4. That's a pretty good dice pool with a critical 1. Also, your rebel troopers, you don't have offensive surge like stormtroopers. So yes, critical 1 is really worth it to get even on any of your attacks. Get a free surge to credit it at, any of your ranges you're firing at. Plus, you get a range 1 to 4. You got a longer range. You got a marksman weapon. Not a proper sniper weapon, but a marksman weapon. I'm glad we can make that distinction now. Thank you, FFG, for adding range band 5. But still, it is expensive, especially compared to the, you look at the XC21 dice pool, and you're like, man, range. But also, yes, I think the 2 extra range bands are really worth it now. Still, it's an option to you. I think the DLT-20A is going to be popular for that range 1 to 4 spread, and the fact that critical 1 will feel like it goes a lot more mileage than on Stormtroopers. But yes, it is expensive. Is it the new hotness? Maybe Z6s are cheap, but they're swingy as hell. I think I've said that before. So, I don't know if you want to go that route. Like, that's another thing talking about the T21. Like, a lot of Imperial players are like, trash, garbage, DLTs forever. Even though, like I said, there are flaws to the DLT that, hey, if they gotta learn them the hard way, whatever. But I've seen a lot of Rebel Troopers going like, oh, man, even, it's a Z6, but it's 2 less dice, but those surges, though. Because they're used to rolling Z6s with no surges. So, they borrow a little from the other factions, but they still stay their own unique path. The DLT-20A, I think, is very good. And like I said, I'm pretty sure at some point Imperials will end up with both of these weapons. Because that's a Mud Trooper Scattergun, and that's IG-88's gun. Though, I don't know. FFG also said in their AMA that they're open to Scum as a concept, and there is an IG droid in the Mandalorian show. So that would be a perfect tie-in for, like, next year for their big release. Their big announcement and release to be like, yo, Scum. Even so, you could see these in other factions. I think they're both worth it in their own ways, but you really got to consider what you're doing, right? The DLT-20A, I think, is more universally applicable, which makes why it makes sense that it's more expensive. You get a lot out of the range. You get a lot out of those dice. You get a lot out of that critical. But the SX-21 is, hey, you guys have complained you want your own cheapo impact. And I think it's going to be pretty gnarly when you're facing up against some other stuff. Plus, unlike the DLT, the SX-21 has big honking dice pools. That's 4 dice. If you want to just bum rush into some droids, start laying waste, smack down, go for it. Now let's talk about that new training upgrade, Offensive Push, the thing that was going to be the new hotness forever, bolted onto everything. Probably not, though, because it taps. It's not a personal value judgment, that's me making a joke. In general, I think the community doesn't like tap upgrades, and I kind of agree on some point, like, many factions, many units of the factions, or possibly many of the factions units, however you want to put it, do not like to recover. Like, some of them can get some stuff in. There is some stuff, like Veers has a card to let you recover. I think there's a couple of other moves in there. Sabine has the ability to recover herself. But in general, recovering's not ideal, though there are a couple of situations where you can kind of work it together and it can be more efficient. But in general, yes. By the way, I don't think I said it very clearly, but I did kind of predict that something like this was coming because if it was just Tactical 1, it would just say, give you Tactical 1. But this is, while performing a move, gain Tactical 1. You tap it to activate this. So it's any kind of move. And I believe Tactical 1 procs off any sort of movement. Or any sort of standard move, rather. Though technically you can proc Offensive Push to give yourself Tactical 1, but I believe it goes away after your move is done. So make sure you do it on a standard move, otherwise it does nothing. But it's 4 points, and like it says, when performing a move, you can tap the card to gain Tactical 1. And I say tap because exhaust is longer, it's more syllables. And everybody should know what I mean when I say tap. But yeah, so is Offensive Push the best assist? Probably not. I mean, it is 4 points, it's pretty cheap, but it does tap, so it'll be hard to shenanigans it more than once unless you are part of an army that normally does it. So, like for instance, if you used your captain ability, and that's what gives you the ability as a vanilla core units, core units, then sure, you get the opportunity. You'll want to untap your captain so you can do that trick again, and you'll want to untap this. If you are like Rebels, for instance, if you were running the MPL also, like you could make a whole squad that is designed to tap and then be like, let's take a tactical untap, let's take a tactical recover. Sure. And theoretically, like, I think this works great for Pathfinders, because Pathfinders have kind of a weird specific movement. They may wish to tap and then take an opportunity to untap. God forbid you are ever in a situation where you're like, man, I really wish I could, ditch some suppression. You could go for that Offensive Push, remove. But I do think making it exhaust is going to hurt the overall capital of this. Because it's like, do you want to pay 4 points to get and use a training slot, which is normally a very competitive slot, it's very good, to get a aim token once while moving, to basically get a double action once? Is it worth it? Compared to, say, something like electro binoculars is spotter 1. Does the Legend Wiki have electro binoculars? Yes, it does. I just might have spelled it wrong. No, it's spotter 1. Okay, so that is 8 points. That's double the points when friendly unit at range 1 gains 1 aim token. That's an action. So 4 points, I think, overall does, like I said, the 4 points part is what makes this. It gives you the budget, but still, I don't know. Like, there are other ways to get aim tokens. For instance, if you're Imperial, you can just slap a Specialist, which is the same 4 points basically. It's 4 points over your default Trooper. And you get an opportunity to also maybe add a Surge token, if you needed, for a tap. And it's a free action, so, yeah, I don't know. They're of the same value. We will probably see at some places there will be some people who will go, I've got a training slot I'm not using. You know, on Commanders and Operatives, for instance, this is a great thing. You're just going to use it maybe once to get a big power turn and then deal with it. And then if you can recover, you can. Or maybe they are, like I said, they're a commander like Sabine who can get a free recover in there, etc. But overall, I do think now that it's been revealed to be a tap card, it's not the be-all, end-all everybody thought offensive, quote-unquote, tactics, because it was offensive push, is going to be. That said, I kind of like the effect because stuff like tactical or agile are pretty rough on just broad standards. You know, as much as I said that I'd love a speeder pilot who's agile. You know, it's as seen with Tauntauns, it's a very efficient thing. I'm glad they're not adding tactical willy-nilly. You know, we've only ever seen tactical added for a vehicle, which makes sense because you know those guys are big and heavy and slow. But all in all, yeah, I don't know. Another thing you're not going to tack this on units that have any kind of double offense ability. Like you don't need to. If you can or not double offense. If you have offensive synergy like relentless units, probably not because you can only do it once anyway because it's not tactical all the time. You perform a move, you tap it, it's done. It's tapped now. At least that's my understanding of the order of operations there. If I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure that's the order. So you scoot forward once, and then you're like, well, I got another move. You don't get another aim token, so you might as well have just, aimed and then moved or something. I don't know. Like I said, offensive push, it's not as cool and great as it could have been, but that's good because that means it won't be literally everywhere. But it's not useless. You can still do some fun things. Just, if you're thinking about slapping it in your unit, think about when you're going to use it, how you're going to use it. Are you ever going to get it back, or is this just your one time, okay, we're making a push now. We're going over the top. I'm going to tactical move, shoot, or something. And that wraps up your Legion news. That's the Rebel and Imperial upgrade packs. Like I said, we don't know what the gear upgrade is, but I'm sure we'll find out some other time about some stuff. And like I said, pretty sure, based on the news scheduling and stuff, they're going to do the thing where they announce it. I don't know. People are getting really weird about this post-Gen Con block of stuff, and it's like, I don't know, just calm down, guys. Think about other stuff. It could be, you could be Armada. That's not offense to Armada, just FFG doesn't really give them a lot of news and releases and stuff, Though I am kind of curious. I'm very amateur at Armada. I'm very curious what they're going to do with the new stuff. And with Clone Wars, to be honest. But anyway, that's an entirely different conversation. But yeah, so we're here. We're winding down. The core set is soon. Let's see. I believe they've officially announced for surezies that it's coming out the 18th worldwide, so that's the end of this week. We do releases on a Friday now, apparently. Or maybe it'll be available, earlier. I don't know. But anyway, it's coming out officially. People have already got their copies. And I'm sure you guys will all enjoy all that stuff I said about droids. Have fun with that. Next article upgrade for those guys? I would expect so. I would expect the article is next. I mean, I can be wrong. I've been wrong about stuff in the past with Legion. It's just, especially if the, escape pod is also delayed. Who knows? Who knows about stuff? Anyway, more news will come. We'll get to see what the clone versions of stuff does. The droid one we know will be a little bit different. Hopefully we can get points and dice numbers on stuff like the radiation launcher and whatnot. Because that's going to be really interesting. And just in general, see how those impact those factions. Stay tuned for more news, whatever it is. They did say that that special forces and operatives for clones and CIS would be sooner rather than later, so I'm hoping those those news comes out. Though we have a lot of stuff stockpiled at the beginning of next year for Clone Wars factions anyway. So, we'll see what happens. They did say that for over 10 meters, they were going to move to a slightly more sliding scale, so that gives me hope about the LAT, that they could possibly scale that a little dramatically so it fits better on the board, or droid gunships. But, they got a lot of stuff going on. Just in general, check out that AMA. I'm really going to have to remember to put that in the outro of the video. And the other reason why I wouldn't, and hey, if it's not, let me know, and I can find it. The other reason why I wouldn't is because the time I'm saying this now is not when the video is going to be finished and uploaded and actually on YouTube where I can build the end card, the end slate. That'll be, a couple hours of editing, rendering, and uploading later. So, whatever. Anyway, that's all the news, and we're done here. So, be sure to like this video if you liked it. Leave a comment below if you've got any thoughts. How do you feel about these new upgrades? Is, even with the mathematically proven usefulness of the T-21, is the extra points a little too much for you? Or are you going to switch to RT-97C over DLTs? Or if you're a Rebel player, are you going to use the SX-21? Are there any combos you want to do with the fact that you can get 2 gear slots or add a training slot? Think, if you got any thoughts about this, let me know, because that's part of how I shape a lot of my thoughts, is I listen to what other people say, and either I agree with them, or I, examine evidence they present, or I don't agree with them, and that kind of drives a lot of my thought process when I make these. If a lot of people, for instance, are saying one thing, but I'm like, but that's not how the math should look, I'm like, you might be wrong, guys. Or if, other people are like, hey, they say that they, like I said, with offensive push, people thought offensive push was going to be really cool when it was just tactical 1, but now it's a tap. People don't generally like taps. Are people going to use it as much? I don't know. Let me know. Will you use offensive push now that you know that it's an exhaust card? It's still only 4 points. So leave those on in the comment section down below. You can also join our Discord. That link is in the description on our channel page. And of course, if you're new here and have not already, please subscribe to our channel so you can keep following our videos as they come out about Legion and other stuff. I'm starting design work on the next L5R video in the pipeline. Got some other stuff coming out. Stay tuned. And of course, even if you're already subscribed, consider that bell for notifications so you always know when we post a new video, no matter when and what it's on. And as I said at the front of the show, consider supporting Patreon. You get access to episodes early, lots of other goodies. Really helps out the show. Though, of course, you can just watch this episode. Alright, I'm gonna bounce. And I guess I'll see you guys when Clone Wars is out.